Minute. Here we go. And this hangout on air is live. Welcome to episode 2, season 3 of the Free Culture Sports Show. We have a special guest today, but first I've got 4 housekeeping things that I want to deal with. That way I don't try to rush them in at the end. Today we are discussing Arsenal. Last time we discussed Spurs. Next time we'll be discussing Chelsea. That leaves a lot of teams left to be discussed. We have Aston Villa, Burnley, Crystal Palace, Everton, Hull, Leicester, Man City, Newcastle, QPR, Southampton, Stoke, Sunderland, Swansea, West Brom, and West Ham. So if that's your team and you want to talk to us, please let me know. 3 other things on the agenda real quick. Basically, if you want to write about those teams and you don't want to be on the show, that's an option too. Stream of the week this week, important to me tonight. It's DC United taking on Sporting KC. That's a race for the top of the East of the MLS. And actually, point 3, I didn't actually check to see if Jay joined. I don't think he did because I don't think I asked him to. And so we'll just go on and let Jay go ahead and introduce himself. We didn't really even say hello at the beginning. We literally said hello, but that was about it. So, Jay, how's it going?
Good, man. How have you been?
It's been a while. I mean, other than like Facebook and seeing posts every once in a while.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I'm Jay Carter. Doug and I played at Science and Math. Doug was a keeper. I played on the outside midfield. And so Doug was my class of Science and Math, so that's where we met. That's probably about when my Arsenal fandom started, actually, 99, 2000-ish. Because on FIFA 99, somebody had to play not Manchester United. So that's pretty much where it came from. You pretty much couldn't be anybody else but Arsenal and Manchester United because then you just get blown out. I mean, unless you want to be like Madrid or something crazy, but like everybody wanted to be Manchester United, so somebody had to be Arsenal.
It was a couple years after that I remember going through Real Madrid's roster and just being like, they have everyone. Like,
yeah,
probably like 2002 or something.
That's exactly how that was Real Madrid 99 to 2006 or something like that. It's literally everybody. Yeah. Anybody who's any good until Ronaldinho went to Barcelona.
Right. So we'll start off with the picks. We've already done our Arsenal picks. It wasn't last week, but the last time we did a show. So Evan picked Arsenal to finish 5th. I finished 4th, and then our Spurs guest actually picked Arsenal to finish 4th. And I didn't mention this, but it works out well. I had said last show that we were going to have the Chelsea person on this time, but turns out that we were able to do Spurs and Arsenal back and back. So no bias here, at least. So are you an optimistic gunner or are you a pessimistic gunner? Where do you think Arsenal's going to finish this year?
If you had asked me this question last week, I was giving you solid 3rd. I thought they'd be a solid 3rd. I think 4th is pretty doable. The top 2 teams are Chelsea and City pretty easily, and I think you could pick the order. I think Arsenal's good enough to finish 3rd, but the injury bugs crept in, and we're like 6 days into the season, so I'm not real optimistic there. United, I don't see it with United unless they're bringing in people and like more than 2 or 3. Liverpool looked surprisingly good last week. Liverpool looked better than I thought they would, so I'm a little worried about Liverpool, and they added Balotelli. But I think 4th is doable. I would like to say 3rd. I don't think anybody's getting near 1 and 2, and then there's probably 3.5 teams that could get, 3, 4, 5. If you count Everton, Liverpool, Arsenal.
Who's a half team? That's what I want to know.
Tottenham. Tottenham's a half team. I mean, they bought a bunch of guys last year, and I think they're all quality, but I haven't seen it yet. So
I just say that based on last week, I'm moving Man U down to 5th, and Arsenal up to 4th, and Liverpool up to 3rd. But I know it's a long campaign, and Man U will turn it around. So I'm not ready to make that a bold prediction yet.
I want to know what everybody's squad looks like on September 2nd. That's the big thing. Because, you told me last week Liverpool was going to bring in all these new faces, and they're going to add Balotelli, who's basically replaces their crazy talented striker with another crazy talented striker. So now I think they look pretty good at Southampton. They might have been lucky to win the game when Schneiderlin hit the bar at the end there. But I mean, they looked like they could definitely do some damage. No lot tomorrow night when they play City. Well, no, I guess they play Monday.
Yeah, Monday.
So what about the Champions League? The first leg of the playoff did not go so well, but didn't go horribly either.
No, the Aaron Ramsey red card is the worst thing. The Arteta injury means that the squad depth's going to be stretched pretty early, but the Germans are back. Expect to see them on the bench this week, although Podolski didn't travel, which is not good.
I've
He didn't
seen
travel
rumors.
to Everton.
I've seen rumors that they might sell Podolski, so maybe that's
That's
why he's not
that's
traveling.
that's why I think it's not good that he's not traveling. So I think there are enough players in the front now, but if we're selling people, I'm not very happy if they're not replacing them. I think we can win a home game. I think we can beat Besiktas at home. That's all we need to do, and that's fine. So like a nil draw is good for both teams because the away team didn't give up an away goal. The home team just has to go win at home. So I think we can win an away game or win a home game with Mesut Ozil back in the lineup and Ozil, Sanchez, Giroud, Cazorla. I think this is fine. This is plenty good enough to beat Demba Ba and some guys that didn't make the grade at Arsenal. So
How many guys in Besiktas used to be Arsenal players?
well, there's two. There's just the one and just the one, but he's wearing the number 10. So I figure you'll remember Akiasip as one of the members of the team that went to Old Trafford and got beat 8-2. That's his shining moment in Arsenal shirt, was being part of that debacle.
So we've already gotten into this a little bit, but any more thoughts specifically about things that may have changed after the opening week?
Yeah, I think I thought it was interesting that Jose Mourinho played all his World Cup guys. So I'm not sure what to expect from our World Cup guys. Like he played Schürrle 90 minutes and he played Oscar. He played all those guys a long time. So I was feeling better that they didn't play last week until I saw that Mourinho was playing all his guys. But their squad's so deep it doesn't matter, I guess.
So what about Mourinho playing his guys? How does that affect Arsenal?
Well, no, so Wenger's big thing was, hey, you can play them right away. I'm going to ease the Germans, who we desperately need because we have no depth at center back, and your team is always worse when Mesut Ozil sits. And if you're not scoring goals, then the guy on the field that you want is Lucas Podolski because he does one thing really, really, really well. He puts the ball in the net. So I was feeling better that okay, fine, we're easing them back in. We have to play 5 times in 2 weeks. But then I saw Mourinho play all his guys, and they looked fine, so I'm wondering why we're not playing all our guys. And maybe it's just Wenger knew he had to play Everton away and Besiktas at home, and Besiktas at home is the biggest game we'll play before Christmas, period. It's the most important game we'll play before Christmas.
So we could spend the whole show talking about today's game, but you just brought it up. The Everton game is today at 12:30 U.S. Eastern Time. So, it's sandwiched in there in the middle of the Champions League. What are your thoughts about the game today?
I'm worried. I think Wenger's got to rotate, so I would not expect to see Sanchez for 90 minutes. I would not expect to see Jack for 90 minutes. Aaron Ramsey's pretty much got to play 90 minutes because he's suspended for Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he'll rotate his team. And last time, Martinez, we played them, and I think Mertesacker was out and Gibbs was out. So Martinez played Lukaku on the Arsenal left, and that was ridiculously effective. So now that we have Gibbs out, so Monreal's back in at left back again. I wonder if he'll try to go do the same thing. He basically left Lukaku up on the right-hand side on the Everton right and dared Arsenal to get that outside back forward. He basically said, we're not going to track back, but we're going to counter you through this side. It was really obvious, and it worked really well, honestly, because we lost that game 3-0. But I'm a little worried about the fact that we're going to have to rotate so early, but again, if this is the type of game you have to get something from if you're going to be a top 3, top 4 team. And we did it last year on basically having an insane record against the bottom of the table. I think we lost one game against the bottom 11 clubs or something like that. We lost Aston Villa opening day is the only game we lost against the bottom 11 clubs. And I think we beat most of them, honestly. I think we maybe drew Swansea, but that's it. And I'll say we drew Swansea and drew West Brom, lost Aston Villa. Those are the only negative results against the bottom 11 teams. Obviously, we're terrible against the top 6, but if you're going to be a championship team, if you're going to be a Champions League team, you need to be going to Everton and getting points.
Mm-hmm. Sure. We talked about their depth, and you mentioned their depth. I was looking at their roster and looking at their lead striker. They've got Olivier Giroud, but I don't know who his backup is for the position that he plays. They have a lot of guys who do play forward, but not so much centrally. And I was wondering what you thought of the depth behind Giroud.
It's Yaya Sanogo, pretty much, period. They played Theo Walcott there, but he's obviously done till September. That means you probably could play. He's played Lucas Podolski there. People want to see Alexis Sanchez there. People want to see Joel Campbell given a chance in the middle. But in terms of a big body target forward, it's Yaya Sanogo and nobody else. So I think that's one of the priorities is either to upgrade or bring in some more depth. Honestly, I think there are enough front players. There are not enough defenders. We're like short a center back. Could upgrade defensive midfielder. Could upgrade striker. But yeah, you're right. It's Yaya Sanogo, and that's it.
Well, I knew they had a lot of different ways to play through the midfield and up top. It is their depth at defense, but I was just trying to think what let them down last season. And I know that there was some spells when Giroud wasn't performing very well up top, and didn't know if they were doing anything to kind of have a clause just in case that happens again. But their defense is probably, I guess, top priority at this point.
Well, the number of my wish list in order is center back, defensive midfielder, striker. Just be center back because the number's not right. We only have 3. If you're playing in Champions League, you got to have 4. Defensive midfield, Arteta and Flamini are both 30-ish. Arteta's the wrong side of 30. Flamini's like 29. Neither are great athletes. And Giroud, I don't know. I may break from traditional Giroud. He does everything well except for the most important thing. He is a mediocre finisher, but he's a great hold-up guy. Good linking up the play. Great defensively. That's the one thing people want to put Sanchez in the middle. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, you will have no 6-footers on the field if you put Sanchez in the middle. The only guy 6-foot-tall guy on the field you'll have is Wojciech Szczesny. So it just becomes a problem to not have a guy like Giroud. Is a big, strong guy to have defensively as well. But the criticism is correct. He's a mediocre finisher, very mediocre. He had 2 chances Tuesday that we should go home 2-0. We should go home 2-0. Just he's got to score them more often. But in terms of go ahead.
Mertesacker 6'6", so he's not playing this weekend. You're just saying this week, or
right? Yeah, this week.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, you got Mertesacker. Koscielny is like probably right at 6 feet tall. Chambers is a tall guy. I mean, I probably overstated a little bit, but I mean, you can't mark all these guys. Look at the goal they gave up at Crystal Palace. It was literally Brett Anglin running across the 18 unmarked. And I know we're zonal, but you see the guy that started marking was Alexis Sanchez. Like, this is never going to end well. So I mean, if you could bring in a guy that does, I don't say Drew's job, but a bigger guy that does that type of job that finishes at a better rate than he does, fine. If we're talking about replacing him with somebody on the roster already, I'm not sure about that.
Yeah. I was looking up that Sanogo is 6'4", so
yeah, he's a big guy. No, he's a big guy.
So it's early days, but Chambers has looked pretty good so far. What are your thoughts on him, and is it just a flash in the pan?
I'm impressed. He's really good with the ball at his feet, which is just mandatory when you play in Arsenal. It's just absolutely mandatory that you're a good passer and you're confident with the ball. You could see like the good Chambers and the bad Chambers Tuesday. So he had like 2 pretty costly two slips that could have been pretty costly. And he got caught for a yellow card, I think actually last weekend too, where he got a little too tight to a forward when they were trying to break out forward spins. He has to just tackle him, like football, actually American football tackle him. So that's the good and bad. But then when you see him make these tackles or with the ball at his feet or initiating the offense, he looks – I'm excited. I'm excited. I hope we don't have to play him 50 games this year. But for him to be, 19, he looks very good. It looks a good buy. And Wenger wants to play him in defensive midfield. And when I see him on the ball, I can see that. I can definitely see that. The problem now is he's the primary backup at three positions, right? He's the primary backup at center back, defensive midfield, and right back. So
yeah. It's a lot to ask for a 19-year-old.
Absolutely. Come on,
my favorite players on FIFA, though. The guys that I can just stick them on the bench, and then whatever position I need them to play in, I just stick them there.
Absolutely, he's the guy. He's that guy. He's your utility infielder of the Premier League. But yeah, of all the guys Southampton sold, I'm glad we got this one.
We already mentioned Campbell. Do you think he's going to go out on loan again, or is he going to stick around this season?
So his deal's up at the end of the year. I imagine Wenger would want to keep him close by to see what he's going to do. And so, my ideal world, Sanogo's the one that leaves. Or I won't say leaves, but goes on loan. Right. And Campbell gets a chance to play. But I think he's been on loan a couple of years. There were some work permit problems till last year. They left him out anyways. He looked real good in Champions League. He had a pretty good World Cup. It looked like he faded toward the end, but I think Wenger's going to keep him so he can see what's going on for himself before you have to make a decision on whether to renew his deal or try to sell him or something.
So I want to switch gears just a little bit, but before we do that, Evan, do you have any other questions about players or upcoming games or anything like that?
Have you said what center back you'd want Arsenal to go after before the end of the transfer window?
Oh yeah, man, Mats Hummels. Come on, Mats Hummels. There's the guy that seems most reasonable that people are talking about right now is Manolas, Kostas Manolas. He's a Greek defender. He looked okay in the World Cup, but I haven't seen him enough to make an informed opinion. Let's see, who else? Maciej Nastasic has been mentioned, the City guy. I can't imagine City selling. City doesn't sell to Arsenal. Arsenal sells to City. I know how this works. But those are the two names that keep coming up.
Gotcha.
The guy like William Carvalho, who could play at center back, who is a defensive midfielder. But I guess Chelsea's got a big money deal on the table for him now.
So you participated in some of the festivities when Arsenal visited New York City fairly recently, correct?
Yeah, it was great. It was a great weekend.
Yeah, so they played against New York Red Bulls or Red Bull New York. I don't know if they officially changed their name or everybody just says it differently. I'm not real sure on that.
Yeah,
the Metro Stars, we can just call them.
Right.
So Henry was there. So just I don't know how many games they played. I just know that one was there. So I guess, share whatever you would like about that experience.
Sure. No, they only played the one game on Saturday. So they flew in Wednesday, had a fan event Thursday night at the Izod Center, which is pretty neat. Let's see who was there. Zelalem, Carl Jenkinson, Jack Wilshere, Aaron Ramsey, Kieran Gibbs, Thomas Rositzky, and then Henry showed up. So those are the guys there. It was great because every time Zelalem did anything, like if he shifted in his chair or was asked a question, the whole crowd chanted USA. The guy had a welcome home Zelalem sign. Like we know what we need. We need a creative midfield player. But yeah, no, it was great. Got my 125th anniversary kit signed by Henry, so that's pretty much I'm done for the year on Christmas and all that good stuff. So that was really neat. Friday they had an event down at Grand Central Station, which was more of a come take your picture with the FA Cup and Gunnersaurus and stuff. And then the Arsenal America branches all got together and got the 3 bars on 14th Street, Blind Pig, O'Hanlon's, and cannot remember the name of the third one. They got together and did a 14th Street is Red event. So I mean, it was 7:30 at night, and there was one in, one out at all the Arsenal bars on 14th Street. You couldn't get in to save your life. Went and met Arsblog at one of the bars, so that was neat. I mean, having a vacation in Manhattan's not bad. Then the game was Saturday, lost the game, but I'm sorry if you're upset about Thierry Henry assisting Ian Wright's kid when Arsenal plays in the United States, then go home. Go home. Yeah, they only played the one game. The squad was horribly unbalanced. He didn't bring any of the guys that played in the group stage of the World Cup. So, and Sanogo had a thigh injury, so we brought, I think, Chuba Akpom was the only striker they brought, and Monreal was at left. They brought no center backs and no strikers. It was a horribly unbalanced squad, but it was just a PR event, which was neat. And then Arsenal America put together a five-a-side tournament on Sunday with all the branches. So my brother and I played with the Baltimore Gooners, who I met when my wife was in grad school. And we made it to the daggone finals and lost in overtime. So all in all, it was a really great weekend. Just going being around a bunch of people. Arsenal. I mean, last time I got to see Arsenal play, I had to cross an ocean. So if they're going to cross an ocean, the least I can do is go vacation to Manhattan for a weekend.
So did you ever venture over to the to Abbey Burger?
Oh yeah, Abby's the spot. Abby's a great spot. You want ostrich burger at 8 o'clock in the morning? Well, they'll do it for you.
So I don't know if this was the case then, but now Riley's, which is across the alley, is the Spurs bar.
It is, yep.
So I find that to be humorous. I live about maybe 100 yards from there.
Oh wow, that's awesome. I did not know that. Yeah, my wife went to Hopkins for grad school, so we were there when I was visiting her. We always go down there.
Cool. I didn't put this on the list. I should have of things to mention, but you mentioned Gideon Zalem. I mean, I hear him as like the next great American hope, but aside from that, like I literally know nothing about him. I think he like also qualifies for like Germany and Ethiopia.
Yeah, his pops is Ethiopian, mom is German. He spent 7-ish years, like he went to high school here for a couple of years before they moved to London so he could trial with Arsenal, and he made it. He signed professional terms like a year after he got there. The kid's a beast. I can't imagine being, the high school kid that had to mark Zalalem. And I don't think he's from far from. I think he went to high school in Bethesda, but I could not imagine being some Bethesda kid having to run around and mark this guy that's good enough to play for Arsenal.
There's a lot of talent in Maryland, though. So if there's one place where he might,
right.
somebody might be able to mark him, it would be around here.
You're right, and it would help that he was 14 and not 18 yet. But no, he's good. He had a real good preseason last year and didn't play very much. He picked up a thigh injury, played a little bit in the cups, played in the preseason a little bit this year. Doug, when I tell you some of these assists he had last year were unbelievable. Just his vision is insane. So if he grows a little bit or comes through, it's gonna be tough to come through at Arsenal. I mean, he's got a bunch of 22, 23-year-olds in front of him like Jack Wilshere and Aaron Ramsey, and they keep buying creative midfield players. But if he comes through at Arsenal, then let me put it this way: even if he doesn't come through at Arsenal, he needs to be wearing a USA shirt.
Yeah, it sounds like somebody will pick him up, even if it's not at Arsenal when he comes through.
No, yeah, he's for sure gonna play. He's really good. Just raw, just really raw.
So you marked down here a few things that people could check out if they want to know more about Arsenal. It's not usually a team that we cover too in depth, so I want people that are interested in finding out more about the team. Where's some places that they should go?
Yeah, I'm an Arsblog guy, so I read Arsblog pretty much every day. They have 2 podcasts. He does Arscast and Arscast Extra. The other guy that's on them with Arscast Extra is Gunner Blog, and those guys are pretty. I mean, obviously Arsenal centric, but they're pretty balanced. They don't get too high with wins and too low with defeats, or as Arsenal fans tend to do, get too low with wins and too low with defeats. They don't do that. On this side of the pond, the Arsenal America folks are great. They organize this whole weekend in New York City. They have inns to get tickets if you want to go watch games. It's a way to find pubs to watch Arsenal play or with other people. That's a really good one. 7 a.m. kickoffs got is a California guy who's got a little bit more of a stats based. He likes numbers a lot. He always goes up by the numbers. So how many passes completed, who had the most tackles in the game, successful dribbles. Pretty stats based guy. And for it's run by an Arsenal guy and a City guy, but it's not Arsenal or City centric. It's a place called StatsBomb.com, and that's kind of the place to go for the budding soccer analytics movement. They're trying to put a lot of that stuff in the same place, which I don't know if you guys do analytics, or they're trying to do goal expectation and save percentages and what correlates to good behaviors team-wise, and what stats do similar players share. They have these radars. So StatsBomb is a really, really great site if you're interested in the numbers aspect of the game. But yeah, I stick pretty close to I only go to the Guardian for transfer rumors. I can't. The Sun and the Mirror, all those, the Daily Mail are all too trolly. They know people will click on negative Arsenal stuff, so they just post it. Good, bad, and indifferent. They know people click on Mats Hummels to Arsenal or Cavani to Arsenal or Arsenal in for Falcao, and people will click on it, so they just keep posting it. The key is if it's not on Arsenal.com, it didn't happen. That's all you need to know. There are no rumors. If it's not on Arsenal.com, it didn't happen.
Nice. So we're basically out of time. Do you have anything else that you want to share? And Evan, I'll go ahead and ask you too if there's anything else that you want to ask Jay. I guess, Evan, you should go first. That way Jay can wrap us up.
So did you become an Arsenal fan at Science and Math? Is that how I understood that correctly?
Yeah, basically, yeah, that summer when I was off between junior and senior year.
And Doug, when did you become a Man United fan? Is that also at Science and Math?
No, actually, I mean, I kind of, like, when Howard went there, I was sort of, like, interested, but I didn't actually start following until the Champions League. I didn't follow club at all until 2008 Champions League, and some of my friends were going, and they really hated Chelsea. I think they might have been Liverpool fans, actually. And so we watched the Liverpool-Chelsea game, and we watched Risa, have the most amazing diving header into the wrong goal.
Yes.
And, he was just telling me about, like, how Roman Abramovich was a terrible person and all this, and I was like, man, I hate Chelsea. So I started cheering for Manchester United in the final, and I was like, well, they won, and I cheered for them. I guess I'm just going to cheer for them.
Ride with it. I like it.
That's how it happened.
So. 2008.
Only reason I asked was I guess I became a Liverpool fan while I was at Science and Math. But I didn't know if it was something connecting all of us.
Well, I got to tell you, there was a time, and this was even like when we were in Alabama, like I was really obsession is not the right word. I mean, as a kid, I couldn't really be much obsessed, but like I was really into like cheering for whatever team was the closest. So like in Alabama, I was like trying to cheer. I was like trying to figure out if like Atlanta was closer or the Florida team was closer. And so like I would be like, all right, I'm gonna cheer for like the Hawks, and like I really just didn't care, but I like tried to make myself. It was like, well, that's the team I should cheer for. And so at the time in Science and Math, I was sort of like into DC United to the extent that like, you can be into a team that's 5.5 hours away within.
That was a good time. It was a good time to be into DC.
Right, exactly. So I do. I mean, I think it's because of the colleges that my parents have cheered for. That like success has always been. The teams that I've cheered for have almost always been successful. So I'm drawn to success, I guess. So. And if somebody's having a bad season, there's enough teams in the world that I can just go pay attention to someone else for a while. So that's what I did last year. Although both of the Uniteds had terrible years last year at least by their standards. So
yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. So and for those that don't follow MLS, DC United was historically bad, like literally the worst team ever in the MLS last year. So yeah, but so. Well, cool. I am going to click the stop broadcast button there. I'm not in any hurry, so we can chat a little bit out there, but don't want people to they don't necessarily care about all our chatting. So I'm going to say goodbye for the Free Culture Sports Show, and we will see you not next week. We'll see you on September 13th.